Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, October 5th, 2022. This is live stream 835. If you're not familiar with the stream, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And most of the time, we take a look at a game. So we take a first look at a tabletop game. This month, little bit different. That's right. Because most of the episodes of the Dispatch this month will feature reviews. That's right. We're featuring reviews, and all throughout October, for some strange reason, my throat is all scratchy down here all of a sudden. What's going on? It's the spiders. Anyway, all throughout October, I will be sharing reviews each and every day. Yes, there will be a brand new review of some sort on thegaminggang.com. Now, it might be a written review, might be video review, might be a review on the show. You never know. You will find out. So, speaking of reviews, tonight I am going to be diving on in and sharing my thoughts about the Southlands Worldbook 4.5e from Kobold Press. Yes, I will be diving on in and letting you know what I think about this regional guide for the world of Midgard for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. So we will be taking a peek at this in just a bit. Should also mention that if you're not familiar with the stream, keep in mind we tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So if you're watching live because you want to see the review of Southlands, kick back, relax, put your feet up. I'm sure you've had a hard day. Take it easy on yourself. We will get to the review. Be about 30, maybe 35 minutes at most. But if you're watching the show 30 minutes or more after it ends, there will be timestamps. And if you want to jump past the tabletop gaming news, you certainly can. Although I've got some cool stuff we're going to talk about tonight. But those timestamps are found in the show notes, or if, depending on what you're watching this on, whatever device you might be taking a peek at this, those timestamps might actually be in the timeline of the video itself. When you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, this is a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for 48 hours or more before you can take part in chat. Another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, fire away. I'll do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight was the Motor City Madman. Yes, the Madman himself, one of our chat moderators. I think we're going to start calling the Madman Mr. Halloween. I think he knows why I'm saying that. So the Madman is with us. John Vogel, Kevin R. Smith, the Warwolf, who I think this might be a first-time visit because that nickname's not ringing a bell. So welcome aboard. Thanks for hanging out with us. And I believe that's everybody in chat so far, at least those who are chiming in. So the Madman says, for a limited time, Fantasy Grounds has a Midgard bundle at 70% off. Sweet. Very nice. There are some pretty cool deals out there right now that you can get your hands on. I have not taken a look to see if anything's cooking at Humble Bundle, but I am going to talk a little bit about how I recommend people get involved with Pathfinder or Starfinder if they're really on the fence. And we will talk about that during the news. So let me grab a quick sip here. There we go. It was weird. It was like kind of scratchy. I was like, I hope it's not going to be like that all throughout the show. Yeah. All right, so let's jump on into the news, because arriving next month from Pegasus Spiele is Caldera Park. Here's what I know. Welcome to the wilderness of North America. Breathtaking mountain views and spectacular geysers await you. Vast forests and prairie provide habitats for native animals. Your task is to group animals of the same species together in families as large as possible. But large families are only half the battle. To score a lot of points, they also need access to watering holes and must avoid bad weather. A turn comprises 2 simple steps. First, one player chooses a feature, species, or watering hole, and a terrain requirement from a limited selection. Then each player must place one of their tokens showing that feature onto one of their park spaces, obeying that terrain requirement. What seems no trouble at first grows more and more challenging and exciting as the available spaces become fewer and fewer. But it's not only the choices of your fellow players that can disrupt your plans. There are also unpredictable weather tokens that you must also take into account. After 5 rounds, the game ends. Then you score your most valuable family of each species and the terrains you completely populated. Caldera Park is an interactive puzzle game that achieves a perfect balance between strategic planning and luck. This and its accessible rule set make it a great next step for anyone who enjoyed Savannah Park. Caldera Park is for 1 to 4 players, ages 8 and up, plays around 20 to 40 minutes, and will carry an MSRP of $39.99 when it arrives in November. Nice looking, pleasant game. You know what it kind of reminds me of a little bit is Calico from AEG. I don't know if you're familiar with that game. I have reviewed it here at the Gaming Gang. I like it. I like it a lot. In fact, everybody I've played it with, it's another one of those games that everybody digs it. It's kind of puzzly. And it's also one of these, all right, well, you have to take up a space someplace. And as you're running out of spaces, your options for scoring more points starts to dwindle, especially if you have not placed correctly or made the right choices as far as how you've placed your pieces of fabric is what that game has. Andres de Barbara has joined us from Argentina. Well, welcome aboard. Thanks for taking time out to hang around with the gang. So kick back and relax. On to the next news piece. Arriving in the States following a Spiele 2022 premiere is La Cremosa from Devir Games. Here's the skinny. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart is dead. His last conscious action on his deathbed was composing the La Cremosa. I think that's how it's pronounced. La Cremosa movement of his opus Requiem. You, as one of his sponsors, will meet with the widow in order to participate one last time in the funding of the works of the Austrian genius. Also, you will reminisce and retell all your memories alongside Mozart in order to make sure that she portrays you under the best light when writing her memoirs in order to enter history as Mozart's most important patron. In La Cremosa, players take the roles of patrons of the late musician, contributing with their fundings to the composer's works one last time. During the game, you play in two different timelines, the present and the past. In the present, you commission the missing parts of the Requiem from other composers in order to complete it. When developing past events, the game takes place in 5 epochs in which you contribute by buying new compositions from the composer to sell or exhibit, accompany him on the different journeys through the main courts and theaters in Europe, and gather the resources you need in order to support the musician during his career. During the game, you play cards from a limited hand that will improve as the game progresses. These cards can be played either as actions or as resource generators, and players need to optimize their resources and finances in order to support their best version of the story and their relationship with Mozart. La Cremosa is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 90 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $79.99 when it arrives later this year. I believe they're hoping for a November release. I'm not positive on that because you know how things go, especially for convention releases. So this is premiering at Spiel. Pegasus Spiele has, I want to say, 5 new games that are premiering at Spiel 2022. Talked about one of them last night, sharing this one here, and we'll no doubt talk about at least one more next week, because out of the 5, 4 of them are fairly meaty games. It's either 5 or 6, to be honest. It's a lot. It's quite a lot. Stray Kismet is joining us in chat, and William Hell Has Eyes is with us once again. Howdy, howdy to the both of you. So let's talk about some role-playing game news, because a new Kickstarter is launched for nerdy Pup Games. Here's the skinny on Rebels of the Outlaw Wastes. Rebels of the Outlaw Wastes is a story-driven post-apocalypse role-playing game where you play misfit outlaws fighting to overthrow the tyrannical overlords of a weird, wonderful wasteland. It uses an original rule system designed from the ground up to create exciting over-the-top action and adventure, with the flow of the story firmly in the hands of the players. Fans of Powered by the Apocalypse or Forged in the Dark will recognize some familiar concepts remixed for a unique player-driven experience. And it features stickers. That's right. You heard me correctly. I said stickers. Writing by any award-winning writer, Banana Chan. That's kind of odd how they put it that way. Should be written by award-winning designer. Just sounds weird. Writing by any award-winning writer, Banana Chan, and designed by Michael Addison, co-creator of The Curse of the House of Rookwood. Create your own world with easy-to-use built-in world creation tools, drawing inspiration from dystopian stories, both fresh and classic. Our inspirations include Turbo Kid, Tank Girl, the Danger Days album from MCR, and Kippo and the Age of Wonder Beasts. The powers that be are fascist overlords that rule the Valley, the last bastion of civilization. As you build your world, you'll create your own version of the Valley and the Outlaw Wastes, and build your own villainous power that you'll be eager to overthrow. You'll play misfit outlaws that resist the authoritarian powers that be. Mix and match combinations of 8 backgrounds and 9 callings to make vibrant, larger-than-life heroes that band together to free the wastes. There is a short Kickstarter video. It's about a little more than 2 minutes in length. It's going to give you a much better feel for Rebels of the Outlaw Wastes.
Tune it in and turn it up, sweet buttercups. This is the voice of the wave, DJ Skeleton Jelly Jr. III, coming at ya from the bunker that is funkier, live in the Outlaw Wastes. The Valley isn't the same since the crash, and those powers that be are at it again. We need you, rebels, all you hotshots, turbo aces, wave talkers, or guitar rockers. Charge up your cyborg arms and get your mutant powers ready. It's time to strike a blow against tyranny with the power of whoop-ass, friendship, and explosions. The Maple Magistrate is spreading fear, building murder blimps, and cutting off the maple syrup supply to the decent downtrodden of the valley. It's only a matter of time before they got us pouring.
Attention Valley citizens! Broadcasts on this channel are illegal. Unauthorized use of friendship, whoop-ass, and or explosions are strictly forbidden in the Maple Magistrate. Guilty parties will be sentenced to labor in our state-of-the-art, mercy-free syrup processing plant. Leads to the whereabouts of this man will be rewarded with additional syrup rations. All hail the syrup lord.
Nice try, Magistrate, but the signal don't stop. Rebels, the time is now. Get your guide to the outlaw wastes from those Morlocks at Nerdy Pup Games. Fight fascists with a brand new rule set that puts the power in the hands of the players. Features vehicle action scenes, 8 backgrounds, and 9 callings you can mix and match. And stickers. Oh, that's right, I said stickers! Available now at a crowdfunding bunker near you. Skeleton signing out.
Rebels of the Outlaw Wastes is right on the cusp of its funding goal, and you can reserve a copy of the core book, physical core book, for a $30 pledge, or you can grab just the PDF for a $15 pledge through October 28th. Expected delivery is September of next year. In the interest of complete transparency, I should also point out that Nerdy Pup Games is advertising this Kickstarter over on thegaminggang.com. So just wanted to let you know that. But if you are fans of like Forged in the Dark or Powered by the Apocalypse, where you've got your playbooks and your moves and things like that, this could be a kind of interesting game. It has a very unique art style, that is for sure. And gotta say, Banana Chan has some seriously good games under the designing belt, I guess we shall say. So we had a few people swing on into chat. We've got Doug Roberts, Sarah D, Melwinius from York, and someone else. Did I say Coco B? I don't know. I don't remember. My memory is shot. Hitting stores in November from Paizo Inc. is Starfinder Interstellar Species. Here's the deets. Bring an array of aliens, both weird and familiar, to your science fantasy adventures with Interstellar Species, the newest rulebook for the Starfinder role-playing game. This gorgeously illustrated reference provides deep dives on 25 playable Starfinder species, each with thematic player options, usable by any character, plus new options for 7 Starfinder character classes. There's also a system for easily creating your own playable species, and a catalog of around 100 thematic non-player characters ready to slot into any adventure. A new class, the Evolutionist, allows you to transform yourself over time into an eldritch being, mechanized construct, sepulchral undead, or riot of biological potential, each with unique abilities and drawbacks should you allow your transformation to grow out of control. I do not have a page count on this, but the hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $44.99. The PDF is going to roll out on November 16th. It will carry an MSRP of $9.99. That's a sweet deal. I always love how Paizo will do that with a lot of their kind of core books for both Pathfinder and Starfinder. They'll usually, because we're used to seeing PDFs at about half the price of a physical release, which I personally think is still way too high, but that's just me. So there's that. But Paizo always does, like $40 book, PDF, $8. Not on everything, but a lot of times on the core books. So if you were watching a bit earlier as Mr. Eddie T pops on in and saying howdy, Mr. Eddie T. But as I mentioned earlier, people from time to time ask, how would I recommend that they get into Pathfinder or Starfinder? Because they're kind of on the fence. Some of them come from like 5e D&D, and they don't want to, invest a whole lot into a game that, they're not sure they're going to like. And what I always say is keep your eyes peeled on Humble Bundle, because about 5 or 6 times a year, at least it feels like, Paizo will roll out some really awesome bundle to get loads and loads of content for both Pathfinder and Starfinder. So they tend to roll them out. Of course, they're not together. It's you have separate bundles that'll come out. So you might see 4 Pathfinder bundles in a year, maybe 2 Starfinder, something like that. But that's what I always recommend. Kevin points out that Pathfinder and Starfinder both have free SRDs online. So there is that. I got to be honest. To me, now, once again, this is just my opinion. To me, I think SRDs are more aimed towards designers and people using an open game license than it is for people like players. Maybe game masters. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that much too. But a lot of times SRDs are just real, sometimes they actually have the same exact content as the core rule books. Not always, once in a while. But no artwork, very bland presentation normally. I have not seen every SRD that's out there. But it's not very inspiring, I guess I would say. And as Kevin mentions, they don't include adventures either. But then again, when we're talking about really inexpensive role-playing games, there is basic fantasy. So there is that, especially if you're kind of interested in a bit of an OSR vibe to the proceedings. That is all absolutely free. So keep that in mind as well. And I have reviewed it and gave it a big recommendation. But once again, this looks like this is going to be a popular core book for Starfinder. We already know player option books always do well. And we can tell that there are loads and loads of new player character options in Interstellar Species. My final news piece, now available in PDF from Parable Games, is a new supplement for their Shiver role-playing game. Here's the dope on Shiver Gothic, Secrets of Spireholm, a gigantic 320-page Gothic expansion for the award-winning Shiver RPG. The city of Spireholm is different of late. Strange folk are abroad, disappearances go unexplained, and a somber mood descends upon the populace. A high-profile murder brings an unlikely group of individuals together to investigate. What they uncover will change them all forever. Forever. The The story of Spirehome is a massive multi-chapter story for the Shiver RPG, exploring the city and doing battle with evil within its walls. Secrets of Spirehome is a huge Gothic campaign that can be played over a large number of sessions, taking characters right from their early levels as nighttime novices all the way to hardened veterans of horror. Inside, you'll find everything you need to play the story, including monster profiles, items, NPCs, and plot galore. Fight your way through ghoul-infested abandoned buildings, sleuth out a murder mystery, pull off a grand heist, and fight werewolves, vampires, and monsters galore in this most Gothic of setting and story. Shiver Gothic Secrets of Spirehome features 320 pages of Gothic Shiver content in full color with stunning illustrations. A monstrous Gothic sandbox setting, the city of Spirehome, for you to explore to your heart's content. A huge 10-chapter story set in the city of Spirehome, which will see you slay monsters, uncover mysteries, and fight against a rising evil. A new set of rules for long-form stories, which ties multiple Doom clocks together into a terrifying Doom calendar. Scatty, kid, scatty. 7 all-new monster archetypes to the Shiver RPG for players to create their characters with. Everything from vampires to Frankenstein's monster are covered with a huge variety of Gothic favorites. If monsters aren't for you, then you can break out the stakes and play as the Slayer archetype to hunt down monsters as well. Brand new Gothic-themed backgrounds, everything urchin to plague doctor to help add a Gothic flavor to the archetypes from the Shiver core book. A swath of items, weapons, armor, and monster profiles are also included for you to use in your Shiver stories as you see fit. There's also an additional one-shot story, It Lives. Graveyards in Spirehome are being raided. Bodies alive and dead are going missing. You and the other concerned citizens of Spirehome are out to investigate and find the culprit. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's Boris Karloff. Just me. Just throw my 2 cents in. The 320-page PDF of Shiver Gothic Secrets of Spirehome can be had at Drive-Thru RPG for $22.86. I don't know where they came up with the 86 cents. I am taking a guess. It's probably based on an exchange rate because, as you can see, Parable Games is out of the UK. Kathy Evans has joined us in chat. Howdy, Kathy. Good to see you. So there is a bit of discussion about basic and expert Dungeons and Dragons. And I believe Kevin is cluing William in on what basic expert is. So Kevin's sharing his love of the OSR in chat at the moment, which is cool with me too, which is very, very cool with me. We were talking last night about when during my review of Hyperborea's Player's Manual, we were talking a little bit about like old school essentials. And personally, I think old school essentials is excellent, but I am an experienced game master. I have been running role-playing games for decades. Yeah, I know I'm old. So I don't need the helping hand that we'll normally see from a role-playing game. And there was some discussion last night, and I had mentioned this, that it's always a great idea, even if somebody wants to just use like old school essentials or maybe another retro clone of some sort, because the reality is old school essentials is D&D. It's just cleaned up, and not their adventures, of course. Their adventures are original, but it's just the basic expert rules. And for advanced fantasy, it is the AD&D books kind of tweaked so that they still fit into like a basic expert mold. I mean, it's kind of how it works, right? So I always point out, going and getting the basic expert rules for a first timer or a relative newbie to game mastering is really recommended. It really, really is. And Tom Moldvay did a really nice job on those rules. And some of the best Dungeons and Dragons adventures come from basic and expert. I think there's a misconception that the greatest adventures for D&D back in the day were advanced D&D, and that's not necessarily the case. Now, granted, there are some classics there too, but there was a lot of goodness in basic and expert. So Christopher Rush is with us in chat. We had a nice chat going tonight. So welcome, everybody. All right, so that was the news for tonight. Of course, I was just talking about picking up Shiver Gothic, Secrets of Spireholm, over at Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG, stop by thegaminggang.com first, click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, besides smashing the like button, hopefully you've done that already, which I'm very surprised we'll get like 50 live views and like 10 thumbs up. I'm like, I don't know. I don't lose sleep over it, that's for sure. Anyway, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, by all means, feel free to swing over to paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. And thank you to everybody out there who uses those banners and swings on over to paypal.me. So very, very cool. Mr. Eddie T says, first thing he does is hits that like button. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Mr. Eddie T. Coco B says, the Moldvay edition taught a generation of 10 to 12-year-olds how to play. Should be good enough for everybody else. Yeah, damn it. If it was good enough for us, we used to have to walk uphill both ways to school through the snow, even in June. We had school in June. I wasn't in school in June. I feel bad for some of these kids nowadays where it's like, oh, wow, it's August 3rd and you guys are going back to school, huh? It's like, when are you guys out? When do you get June 3rd? What? Here we were like, I think second week in September, we went back to school and we were done by like the end of May. So William asks if I ever played Top Secret or Gamma World back in the day. And the answer would be yes. I did. In fact, my friend Tim Phelan ran Top Secret. In fact, I always point out that if you're interested in a cool espionage game that has aged very, very well as far as mechanics, I always recommend checking out, I think you can still get the PDF. Maybe the James Bond role-playing game that was from Victory Games. Man, is that good. And the adventures were really cool too. I say from time to time when I bring up the James Bond role-playing game that somebody should, look into re-releasing that. Now, of course, the Bond license would cost you an arm and a leg, but you don't have to use the Bond license. It is an excellent espionage role-playing game. Gamma World, we didn't play a whole lot. We weren't in high school and that we weren't real into like gonzo, like science fiction, which Gamma World kind of, the original Gamma World didn't. It was later editions that kind of skewed toward, kind of gonzo science fiction. Yeah, we normally played things pretty straight up. We played quite a bit of Morrow Project. Man, what a terrible system that was. I keep thinking I really ought to take a peek to see what the last edition, which was fairly recently, I think, what it looks like, because the original Gamma World, if you wanted to simulate gunfire, ballistics, things like that, fantastic. An actual role-playing game system, not so much. Not so much. All righty then. So tonight I am going to be sharing my review of the Southlands Worldbook from Kobold Press. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
And make a pot of Wilkins coffee. Keep going. I don't like coffee. Ooh, it happened that way. Moving west.
Hi, George! Nobody's giving away my car.
Not your car, Mr. Magoo, but one just like it. This is the first prize in the Name Mr. Magoo's Car Contest, or the Chevrolet Impala, or Corvette Sports Car.
And 77 other prizes. Get your entry blank wherever you buy Stag beer.
Wonkins, no! I tell you, Wonkin's life would be so much easier if he would just drink the damn coffee. Plus a little Mr. Magoo in there. Mr. Magoo pitching beer. Okay. All right, let's move right on in because, as promised, I am going to be sharing my review of the Southlands Worldbook for 5e from Kobold Press. It's written by Richard Green with Bashir Gauss, Kelly Pollock, and Wolfgang Bauer. The 320-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $49.99. You can grab the PDF alone over at Drive-Thru RPG for $29.99. Mr. Eddie T says there's popcorn in the microwave and I can't wait. So guess we'll just wait for a few moments to swing over to the other camera. We'll wait till Mr. Eddie T gets back. And of course, yes, Doug Roberts, are you ruining chat again? Never seen anybody ruin chat. Now, on occasion, we've had to toss somebody out. Of course, I was only joking. I'm not waiting for Mr. Eddie T to go get his popcorn. Here I've got the Southlands Worldbook, which we did a playthrough previously. Oh, thanks. Mr. Eddie T's like, go ahead, Jeff. Like, thank you. I guess I will proceed then. I have gotten permission. Let's get into it. Anyway, a few things I do want to mention before I dive on in. First off, the fine folks over at Kobold Press were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. These days, it's very important that you know that. I'm also going to stay picture in picture up here. So as we take a look through the book, I'll be cutting off a little bit of the upper left portion of it. And also, this is not an adventure, but it is a setting guide. And if you're a player hoping that your dungeon master, game master, what have you, is going to run adventures in the Southlands region, you might want to tune out. But once again, it's not an adventure, but there will be a little bit of spoiler-ish action here. Sarah D says she wouldn't wait for Mr. Eddie T either. All right. So let's take a look at the back here. Magnificent temples and cursed tombs. The land teems with elemental power. Ancient god kings walk among mortals, ruling vast empires. Across searing desert, steaming jungle, and rolling savanna, lost cities echo the majesty of the past, shelter legendary monsters, and hide bejeweled treasures. Swift-flying sand ships dart over the dunes, bearing mysterious agents and fresh intrigues. Brave adventurers uncover the mysteries of the Jinn, the trickery of the gnolls, and the labyrinths of the minotaurs. I'm not going to read the rest because it talks about what's in here, and we're going to just discuss and take a peek at what's in here. A few things to first focus on. We've got loads of artists here, so taking a moment here with the credits for the interior artist as well as the cover artist. As per usual, artwork top-notch throughout. Very uniform in style. I always like that. I'm fussy that way. Guess I don't know if I want to use the word fussy, but you know what I mean. I happen to be a fan of role-playing game books which provide or have artwork that's relatively uniform in style. It doesn't have to be the same exact artist, but think of it like the old days when it was like, draw the Marvel way. So you had all those different artists working for Marvel, but they all had a similar style. All right. Anyway, so we're going to get a breakdown of the Southlands. The Southlands consists of 9 different regions, and there is a lot going on in all of these regions. Of course, the Southlands is part of the world of Midgard, which is Kobold Press's home setting, which I have reviewed the Midgard Worldbook. Really, really dug it. Thought it was really well done. Really interesting reading. That's the same with Southlands as well. A very interesting read. And it's one of those kind of setting books that really starts getting those imaginative juices flowing, which isn't always the case. But there's a lot in this source book to recommend it. There are some things that I will point out that some folks may have issues with. I personally did not. Kind of discuss why I don't really have a hard time with it. But one of the things that needs to be mentioned is some of these civilizations, and even though there are 9 regions, there are far more than 9 different civilizations or cultures that are tackled in Southlands. Some of them deal in slavery, and in some respects, it's not necessarily pointed out like, oh, you're horrible, you're terrible for dealing in slaves. Some people may have a problem with that it's not made out that every one of these cultures, and it's not all of them, it's just some of them, it's a handful, that do deal in the slave trade, or their economy is dependent upon slaves, are not necessarily painted with a villainous brush. So something to keep in mind. I guess I would assume some people will be upset by that because there are folks out there who get triggered by things like that. And I can understand why. But I'm of the sort where, slavery exists. Slavery still exists today in the modern world. And it's something that needs to be fought and fought against and stood up to. And to just sit there and kind of be like, oh, well, no, I can't have that in a game, or I can't have any discussion of that, to me is just really sort of wishy-washy. So we've talked about this kind of stuff in the past. I am, I am not as woke, I guess, as some people would like me to be, but that's just, just how it is. So we are going to get a lot of different kinds of regions throughout the Southlands. And it's very, very cool because if you want to play sort of Egyptian themed adventures, well, then you are all set. If you want to play more, jungle, got that as well. We've got snow-covered mountains. So William says, geez, it's a game. It's okay for a demon to behead a cleric in the game. I know, but people, nowadays everything's got to come with a trigger warning and things like that. There's something else that I'll talk about when we kind of get to it that some people might, take issue with. So we've got the lands of wind and sand. And we do have Middle Eastern flavor. We do have African flavor to these various different areas. We have adventure seeds for every location. We've got gazetteer talking about each of these areas as well. We get into some of the more important NPCs, what's actually taking place. We've got a bit of a timeline early on in the source book as well. So one of the things that I find very interesting and very useful in Southlands is the inclusion of things that are going on in the world and the movers and shakers. And the world is going to continue to turn regardless of what the player characters do. And that's kind of an underlying aspect to the Southlands, is that your player characters are going to have loads of adventures and things like that, but there's other things going on in the world around them. And I thought it's something that's actually really, really well done. And it's sometimes ignored in other source books, other gazetteers, other settings books of, there's a big world out there. It's not all revolving around the player characters, although the game at your table needs to, right? So we also have a region which is all gnolls, and they're not just all villainous, because I know people out there, get upset where it's like, oh, well, the orcs are all bad guys, which I got to point out is the case with this enclave of orcs. They don't really have any redeeming value in this. But I know there's a big push where these fantasy races shouldn't just all be evil, all be good, and so on and so forth. Once again, that's something I think it's not something I would lose sleep over with. But once again, that's me. I don't get worked up over these kind of things. But I could see the presentation of the orcs, who are basically raiders and killers in the Southlands, could be a problem for some people. So just floating it out there, just warning you of the two things that I think some more sensitive viewers might get upset about. So we're going to get undersea adventures. Everything is really covered here. So when I first got this, I thought, oh yeah, okay, so this obviously enough is kind of a, probably an African, Middle Eastern kind of theme to the Southlands, and that's not the case. I mean, there's different areas that out of the 9 regions that are in this book that do skew that way. And it's not completely like this. So, I mean, we have little island towns and things like that. We get some new monsters. We get new NPCs. We get a whole slew of deities to utilize as well. The Gods of the Southlands section is here, what we're taking a look at. So we get a breakdown of each of the deities, who worships them, their alignments, as well as what their favored weapon would be. And I like the fact that we get about a page of information on each. None of them kind of wear out their welcomes. I'll be the first to point out I'm not really the biggest advocate of various different deities in my fantasy role-playing games. Yes, I know we have clerics and things like that. So I usually have make sure that we've got a few deities, but it's certainly not like the gods of Lankmar or anything like that by any stretch of the imagination. But it pretty much any sort of deity you're looking for to fit the bill is going to be located in here. And some of them are very cool as well. All right, so we get into some new monsters. So we've got our stat blocks and artwork for each. As I mentioned before, really think the artwork is excellent throughout. We get some random encounter tables that I thought are very cool as well. So here are some of the Southlands NPCs. We have the cat folk. There's actually 2 cultures of cat folk. One of them is kind of sneaky and manipulative, and they're very curious. And another is very proud, very warlike, kind of like Klingons almost, is what I was kind of thinking of reading about them. So we've got over 30 new magic items included as well. So here we got the random events, just based on where you're at, location-wise, ocean events, mountain events, abandoned lands. Get some deck plans. And then we finish up with a very in-depth index, as well as some ads for other goodies from Kobold Press, as well as a poster map. And that is what we find in the Southlands Worldbook for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons from Kobold Press. Let's swing on over to the other camera and I will share some final thoughts and my review score. I think you already know, if you follow the gaming gang at all, I have really enjoyed checking out a lot of this stuff from Kobold Press that Wolfgang Bauer has been kind enough to send on out. And I have not, given everything like the highest marks, but all in all, I have been entertained by everything. Even Scarlet Citadel, which I thought was okay. But I loved the Midgard Worldbook. I thought it was fantastic. Very entertaining read. And reading through it, it's a setting that it's like, wow, I would love to run adventures in, and I can picture my players playing in adventures in that setting, because there's just a lot there for you to utilize. There's a lot of nuggets for you to mine for adventures. And the Southlands book is no different. It is packed with cool locales, interesting NPCs, action that's going on. One of the aspects that is recommended for adventures that take place in the Southlands is kind of pulpy. So little little bit of a pulp feel to them, and that they should be high action, high adventure. You know, none of this. Well, I guess maybe some skullduggery, but we're not talking about, the pulling the strings behind the people of power. No, we're talking high action, big, chases over rooftops and things like that. So that is kind of the recommended approach to the Southlands and adventuring in the Southlands that you should take. And I definitely dig that as well. I already mentioned a couple people probably, I shouldn't say couple, some people will have an issue that some of the civilizations that deal in the slave trade or their economy is based on slavery aren't necessarily really, you're not pounded over the head with, oh, how villainous the civilization is. They're not good guys. At no point are any of the slavers or anything presented as being, good guys or noble or anything like that. But I do want to mention that. And of course, we do have the orcs, which this group of orcs doesn't really have any redeeming qualities. So they're all evil. So those of you out there get upset about a race being portrayed only as evil might stick in your craw. But for the rest of us, I can highly, highly recommend Southlands. I even recommend it for the people who will have some issues with it, because it is just jam-packed with ideas that you can steal and use in your own settings if you're not interested in the Southlands itself. What I would probably recommend is for dungeon masters out there to kind of skim through the book and get a feel for what region, what cultures they would really like to introduce their player characters to, and really focus on that. Because if you sit down and you expect to be running the Southlands as a whole, you're going to find it pretty overwhelming. I'll tell you that. All right, on a scale of 0 to 10, I really, really do like this quite a lot. Not as much as I liked the Midgard Worldbook, but then again, that got a 10 out of 10. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give the Southlands Worldbook a 9 out of 10. I enjoyed it that much, and it's a fun read filled with plenty of material for you to crib for your own games or to actually play in the Southlands itself. Should also mention that, as far as I understand, this is kind of a reworking of a previous Southlands supplement, which I think was for Pathfinder. So not all of it. This is not like completely brand new material, like everything in it. So I think some of it has been, I'm not saying it's just cut and pasted, but I'm saying that some of this has been covered previously in other source books. All right. So there's discussion about cats. Yes, my two cats upstairs. Good old Mango and Lala. They've been behaving. I've had them almost a year now. So yes, we're October. It's January. It's still a little bit off. All right. Anyway, that is it for taking a peek and reviewing the Southlands. I got to be honest, doing live reviews is weird. It's just, I just so easily get off track because I don't like to script stuff. So anyway, so what's cooking next week? Well, we're going to continue doing reviews. So on Monday, I am going to share my review of Dune Adventures in the Imperium, Agents of Dune, which is from Modifius Entertainment. I know a lot of people out there are very curious about this. On Tuesday, I will be reviewing the second edition of the Doctor Who role-playing game from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment. That's right, and really can't tell over my shoulder here. That is the collector's edition with the TARDIS on the front. And then next Wednesday, I'll be reviewing Cults of Cthulhu for Call of Cthulhu from Chaosium Inc. So lots of goodies next week. Should point out, as I mentioned earlier, all month long, every day is a brand new review. A lot of them are going to be role-playing games. Not all, but there are a lot which are role-playing game reviews. And of course, if you weren't aware, all throughout the month of October, here on Dispatch, I am tackling role-playing games. So we are not going to be looking at any board games or war games during the month of October. It is all RPGs. And if you have not caught any of the episodes of the Gaming Gang October Spooktacular, you should. Tonight will be Dimension X and Mars is Heaven, one of my favorite old-time radio episodes. It is based on the Ray Bradbury short story, which, if you are familiar with the Martian Chronicles, was adapted into that as well. So if you didn't know, the Martian Chronicles is actually a lot of short stories that Bradbury actually stitched together into a novel after one of his friends recommended doing that. So, alrighty. That is it for tonight. That is it for streams for this week. So, of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my recent review of the Castle Keeper's Guide for Castles and Crusades from Troll Games. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you took part in chat while watching live, tip of the cap and extra experience points for you as well. Of course, I know not everyone has an opportunity to watch the stream live. It doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very kindly for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos on this channel. All righty. Of course, as always, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. See you next week.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.